Okay, so here we go with another recipe. Today's recipe, you see from the title, we're making a meatloaf, okay? We're gonna make this the same way. This recipe goes back many years ago. I had this when I was a kid. My mom used to make it like this, okay? So it's kind of an old-fashioned recipe. And yeah, we're using onion soup mix from Lipton. All right, let me run down some ingredients here. It's pretty straightforward. The only things that you don't see, that was my oven heating up to 350. You guys can probably do that right now because this doesn't take too long. All right, so on with the ingredients, okay? I've got 2 pounds of 80/20 from my local butcher. You can grab that wherever you guys want to get it from, really, wherever you feel comfortable. I got 8 slices of white bread. Now you can use any kind of white bread you want to. This isn't really specific, so whatever brand you use is completely up to you. We have an onion, which we're not going to use all that. We might use maybe a quarter of it, a half of that. 2 eggs, a couple cloves of garlic, fresh cracked pepper. We got a little bit of salt over here. French onion soup mix. Got a little bit of water and some ketchup. That's all that it's going to take to do this recipe today. It's going to be a great recipe. The only thing that's not shown is like a 9x11 like casserole dish. That's what we're going to put this in, and you are going to need just a little bit of brown sugar. I'm making a super basic top for this, which is just going to consist of brown sugar and ketchup melted down on the stove a little bit, and that's going to be our topping. I'll show you how to do that. Very simple. Nothing complicated about that. All right, so let's get going with this recipe. I'm going to clear some of this stuff out of here, and we're going to get this going because I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. Be right back with you. All right, first things first. This is how we're going to do this today. I was going to get my prep all done, but I figured I'd show you guys how I do it, okay? So we're going to take the 8 slices of bread. Again, this recipe is nothing at all complicated with this, okay? We're gonna cut this like basically we're making stuffing for a turkey, okay? So we're just doing this. I know this seems like a lot of bread, but it's really not once you get rolling with this, because this is going to suck up a lot of moisture from the water that we're going to put into it. Now that water, I have 3 cups of water. That could be negotiable. We're going to find out exactly how much that we need towards the end, and if I think that it needs a little bit more, we're going to put a little bit more. This is a recipe that I just kind of make blindly. Been making this for many years, so this is a go-to recipe now that we're coming into, or actually we are in September, so I'm into doing a lot of meals now from this point forward out for all right, there we go. And I didn't finish my saying. I'm doing recipes basically right now for like wintertime, like comfort food and stuff like that. So I'm kind of changing over right now. Okay, I'm going to get this in a bowl. I'm going to come back, cut the onion and the garlic up, and yeah, we'll be right back. All right, on with the garlic. You've seen me do this a bunch of times. It's just basically, we're just going to whack the garlic a little bit. I gotta have a little bit of garlic in my meatloaf here today. You don't have to put this, if you don't want to put this in, you don't have to put it in. You just leave it out if you want to, but I think it adds a little something to it, so that's what we do. We go with it. So that's as simple as that on how to peel the garlic. 1, 2, 3. A nice Sunday to be in cooking and making a meal. And I think if I get rambunctious here, I think we're going to make some potatoes, and on the side at least maybe some potatoes, and be a nice meal, be a nice lunch. And the good thing about it is there's always leftovers. So A nice meatloaf sandwich never hurt nobody, right? All right, so that's how we do the. That's how we do that. Get the last one done. Just like this. And then we'll be on with the onion. Nothing like, this is one of those meals, not that it's doing it right now, but this is one of those meals where it's snowing outside and you're like, hey, what am I going to do? Am I going to make a pot of sauce and meatballs today? Or am I going to make an apple pie or something like that? Or what are we having for dinner, right? This is what we're having for dinner. All right, so we're mincing the garlic. Something like that, real simple, okay? All right, not much time spent there. So let me clean off my hand here. And a little sanitizer. All right, onto the onion. So we're gonna do this just in the same thing. All right, so we're just gonna take our onion. You see me do this a lot. We're gonna put that half aside. We're gonna peel this off, the first layer, get rid of all that, and then I'll show you how I dice this up real quick. I'm sure if you're a fan of my channel, which it seems like there's quite a few people that are a fan of my channel, and thanks for that. We always appreciate that. Appreciate the views, as long as Facebook. Yeah, well, it's on Facebook too, I guess. YouTube doesn't put me in jail for whatever the reason, I guess. All right, so we're just going to take the onion just like this. It's kind of the quickest way to do it, right? Should be using a little bit of a smaller knife, but you know, why aren't I using a smaller knife? And then we're just going to go this way, right? Just going to run a strip like that, and then we're going to run a strip like this. All right, and then we're just going to just like that. It makes life so much easier when you dice an onion like that. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to use all this. I always do this by eye, so I can't tell you if we're using, you know, half a cup, quarter cup, whatever. All right, so we're going to cut this up just like that for now, and that's going to go into, that's obviously going to go into the meatloaf, and then I'll, you know, in the description below, I always put my ingredients down. That's what we'll do. Right, so we got everything cut up. Well, first things first, Lipton onion soup mix. You know, there was a while there that I didn't eat meatloaf for, I don't know, quite some time, many years. And I was always thinking of the way my mom made meatloaf, right? And I could never think of it. I said, geez, I got to get to the bottom of this. I got to figure it out. I got to make, you know, obviously you make 4, 5, 6 meatloafs until you try to get it right. And this is as close as I came to it. So if you guys make this, I'm really hoping you enjoy this meatloaf. I love this. So that's why I continue to make it the way I do. All right, so on with the 2 eggs. We're going to put the onion soup mix in. And we're going to put the 2 eggs in. All right, just like that. And then we're going to put in the ketchup, which I have 1/3 of a cup of ketchup. You could put more if you like more of a ketchup-y taste, but I'd like to see you make it this way first and then adjust the ingredients, because I'm a firm believer of that. Not one recipe is the one that's always carved in stone, right? All right, and then we're just going to go with our water. Got about 1/3 of a cup. That may change once we get going here, because it depends on, I need a little bit of liquid. So what I do, I don't know, you know, some people may disagree with this, but what I do is I get this out of the way right now. I whisk all this together so I don't have to play and deal with it later on. Now, you've seen in the beginning of the video the ingredients that I ran down, that I was going to put salt in this. I just want to let you guys know, if you guys have never used onion soup mix, the sodium in that is pretty high. I can't lie and say, oh no, there's no sodium in it. There's a ton of sodium in it. All right, so here's our mixture. That's what we're going to do for that. And now we're gonna just set this bowl aside. We're gonna open up this. This is beautiful down there. I get this from our local butcher. So this is 80/20. That's what I use. I do definitely want the grease from this. Okay, so it makes it like it's not going to get to a point ever with this that you're going to have a dry meatloaf. So if you've ever had a dry meatloaf, maybe try changing the percentage of your meat, basically. Okay, so we're going to just add the ground beef, just like this. Break it up just a little bit. You don't want to get crazy with it, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Get your hands in it. It's fun. All right, and now you can use breadcrumbs in this if you want to. If you use breadcrumbs, use like a cup of breadcrumbs. Eight pieces of bread is usually equals about a cup. So I got 8 pieces of bread here that I just threw in, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna mix this until it's well incorporated. A lot of people say don't mix your meatloaf mix to death, right? But I'm also one of those firm believers that I mix it until it's well incorporated, because I don't want a piece of bread or, you know, too much egg in one spot, or so I mix. That's what I do. You guys can do what you want to do as far as that goes, right? So, you know, you pretend you're making meatballs, right? So, a little different than meatballs. If you guys want a recipe for meatballs, oh boy, there's a meatball recipe on my site that I've been making for years. Good old Italian from my grandmother, how she used to make it. A couple of different ways, but that's one of them. All right, and I am going to use the rest of that bread. So it's about 8 slices of bread, and it is still moist. So we're going to just keep mixing until we get everything incorporated, just like that. You know, break it up with your thumb as you go along, right? Okay, just like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get on with this garlic. All right, so we're going to throw that 1.5 cloves of garlic in. We're also going to take, I don't know, a handful. I'll measure this later on. This might, right here, this might be about 1/3 cup. I only put this in for just like texture. When you eat it, you don't want too much. I don't want to overpower it, and you don't have to worry about it not cooking, because once that ground beef starts steaming, that will almost like you sauteed your onions. You can do that prior too if you want to. No big deal with that. It's just that I always remembered that there was separate onions in my mom's meatloaf, so that's the way that we're doing it today. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add some, like I said, I would take it easy with the salt. Maybe add just a pinch or 2. Wouldn't get crazy with that because lots of sodium in that, whatchamacallit. And we're gonna do some fresh cracked pepper. Okay, and then we're gonna give it one more mix. Say about maybe a half a teaspoon. I know it looks like a lot of pepper, but it's not too much. We're gonna give it one final mix like this. All right. So I think we're gonna do some mashed potatoes with this today. I also have a mashed potato recipe. If you guys are interested in a nice mashed potato recipe, you can always go back to my channel and try to find that. All right, there we go. There's our meatloaf mix. We're gonna clean this up. We're gonna show you how I shape it in a 9x13 pan. We're gonna get this in the oven for about 1.5 hours on 350, or until internal temperature reaches somewhere between 160 and 165. Okay, so now all we're gonna do, we're just gonna take this meatloaf mix that we just made, and we're just gonna put it in this pan. There we go, just like that. Now this was 2 pounds just so you guys know. I know I said that in the beginning. You don't have to get crazy with this when you shape it, but what I would say is just make sure that however thick or thin you want it, make sure it's like that kind of all the way across. That's all. Just so it cooks evenly. But you can have it higher, you can spread it out a little more, you know, whatever you want to do. I try to keep it pretty consistent, so I'm going to say just about like that. All right, so that's it. Very simple. Just like that. Okay, we're happy with that. There you go. All right, so we're going to leave this in the oven. We're going to put it in the oven now, hour and a half, 350, middle rack, and we're just going to let it go. I'm not going to cover this. I will check the temperature on this. We're, like I said, we're going to try to get to 160, 165, somewhere around there. We will get there. It's going to take about an hour, and then I'm going to start the just the glaze for the top of it. I don't glaze it right away. I wait until it cooks through about, I don't know, I probably glaze it like the last half hour, 40 minutes or something like that. So in the oven this goes about an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, so we got our mess all cleaned up. On to the next thing. Now we're going to just make the glaze for the top. This is very, very simple. It's somewhat of a cold pan. I just turned the burner on it. We're going to do probably like 3/4, I don't know, maybe a half a cup. Probably something like that, probably a half a cup. And we're going to do maybe, well, we are going to do 1/4 of a cup of light brown sugar. Okay? This couldn't be easier. You could also put some mustard in this too, some grain mustard. All right, and all we're going to do now is we're just going to take this and we're going to basically keep stirring it until the sugar dissolves. Now, you don't have to use a super high heat on this. You'll feel it because it'll feel very grainy underneath, right? And that means that it's, you know, your sugar has not melted yet. So all you got to do is just do this, and then you can taste it. It's still a little bit grainy. This only takes a couple of minutes, and it's nice for the top of it. Although when I was a kid, I didn't like the, you know, the topping, the ketchup mixture on the top, because I was a kid and I always had just the end part of the meatloaf. I always used to tell my mom, no, don't put the topping all the way to the edge. I want the end piece, right? I guess I was just that kid. So I still do that today, which is weird, right? It's the little things once your parents pass away that you still do some of the stuff that you did when you were a kid, or ask for things. So I still do that. So if you're wondering why when I make my meatloaf and I put this on, there's a little edge left. It's you know, it's something I used to do when I was a kid, back probably 50 years ago or so. All right, so that's it. See, now it's all, I know you guys can't feel it, but you just keep doing this until the sugar is dissolved, which it is, and you can feel it if you use a spatula and you take it and you press down on it, kind of pull just a little bit. You could feel it. You can feel the granular part of it, if it's there or not. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit like this. See? Yeah, this is a great mixture. I never get tired of eating this. It's got that little bit of brown sugar in it, which is great, and the sweetness from the tomatoes, from the ketchup. Use a ketchup of your choice. You know, it doesn't matter. There's no special thing. It's whatever you guys like. Okay, so this is getting a little bit liquefied, and that is done. So the meatloaf has been in for about 55 minutes right now. So we're going to yank it, and we're going to just put it up here real quick. Oh boy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Close this back up, and now we're gonna get on this glaze. I just put it right on with the spatula, just like that. Just like that. Oh boy. And you can just tell it's gonna be one of those meals. It's going to be super delicious today. I love a good lunch, like I tell you guys all the time. It's kind of glad I do this, because if I didn't have a love for throwing some meals together, then I'd be, yeah, I probably wouldn't eat, right? I don't know. No, I would eat. I would still eat, obviously. But, okay, so that's what we do. That's as simple as that. All right, so this now is going to go back in the oven. I'm going to leave this in for, I'm actually going to check the temperature before, let's see. I guess I can check the temperature right now. We're looking at about, okay, yeah, so it's about 145, so we got about another 15 to 20 degrees to go. So I would pretty much estimate that at another 20 minutes. So we're going to let the top get all like caramelized a little bit, and we're going to yank it. So as soon as I yank this out, I'll show you what it looks like. I also made a nice little gravy for the top of it, right? Okay, so here we go. This is done. This is what our meatloaf looks like. So this was in for a total of 1 hour and 15 minutes on 350 center rack, and then I put it under the broiler for about 3 minutes, and just to get the edges maybe just a little bit crispy and whatever. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it from this pan. I'm going to drain all the grease out of it, because you can see that it's in the grease, and I don't bake this on a rack because it's very difficult to get the meatloaf off the rack, because it's soft when you put it in, and it kind of falls in the, in the grates, you know what I mean? So I'm going to transfer this to a wire rack, and I'm just going to let the extra moisture just drip off of it. I'm going to let it set for about 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, we're going to take it to the other side of the kitchen. We're going to cut this up, plate this up with a little mashed potatoes. It's going to be a great meal. Okay, so the meatloaf is out. It's on a rack. Just so you know what I was talking about, I just put it on a plate like this. Okay, just let the little bit of drippings drip, instead of having it sitting in the, all the fat that it renders as it cooks down, so it's not as greasy. This is very moist. You're never going to have to worry about, if you do a meatloaf like this, you're never ever going to have to worry about having a dry meatloaf. And I know for a fact that that's a problem with the way people cook it sometimes. They complain about it as far as like, how do I make that so it's not so dry? Anyways, if you follow this recipe, no problem. This is going to be fantastic. So we're just going to move this aside. I'm just going to bring this over on this cutting board. I just got a cutting board on top of another cutting board just to show you guys. And we're going to bring this into the picture just like that. Oh boy. And what we're going to do is we're going to just slice it down the middle and open this up for you so you can just see it. Not dry at all, super hot. Like I said, it's been resting for about 10 minutes. Okay. Looks like a regular meatloaf, right? Okay. So if you look, you can see, and that is, trust me when I say this is very hot. But try to keep your eyes on where my finger is. You're going to see all the juice here. Hopefully you guys can maybe do this and watch how moist that is, right? Never a dry meatloaf in this house. All right, so that's it. I'm just going to remove this now, and then we're gonna slice up a couple pieces here. Actually, I think one slice right now would do good. Cut it a little bit on the larger side for plating purposes only. All right, and we're gonna get rid of, push the meatloaf over here aside, and we're gonna turn around and we're gonna take that piece of meatloaf, put it over there. All right, so here we go, plating time. All right, I told you that I made I told you that I made some mashed potatoes, and if you're wondering why these mashed potatoes look like they're tinted a little bit orange, it's because I made some cayenne potatoes. I'm the only one eating this today, so I figured I'd make them. I figured I'd make me happy today. All right, so there we go. We're gonna do just a little bit of a divot there. That's our potatoes. If you guys want a recipe for this, I got a great recipe online for these potatoes. You can just go back in my history, take a peek at it, and I guarantee you guys are gonna love that. Okay, and then we're just gonna do something like this, and we can't forget our gravy that we made. Probably should have a little bit bigger of a spoon, but this will do. So we got some gravy here that I made. Throw some gravy in the mashed potatoes, and we'll throw some gravy on the top, just like that. Just like that. Beautiful. All right, that's it. This afternoon is done. Just clean up my plate a little bit, just like this. Okay, and that will do it. It's already seasoned, so I don't have to put no salt and pepper on it. So guys, if you guys like a meatloaf dinner, serve this with a vegetable on the side as well. So this is how I would prepare a meatloaf dinner, and this is absolutely fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna take a little piece off this over here, off the end, just like that. The brown sugar with the sweetness of the ketchup really is a good meatloaf. Okay guys, subscribe if you like this, so we can use some more subscribers. Share it with your friends, throw a thumbs up if you guys want to, and I appreciate every single one of you guys stopping in weekly and seeing my recipes. It's always an awesome time cooking for you guys, and I will see you next week. Meatloaf dinner.